And we are live. Welcome to the Distinctions for Life office hours. I'm your host, Ron Davis. Thank you for tuning in. I began these live streams in early 2020, and I did it just to talk to interesting people. And there's very little structure to these things. We talk about whatever I want to talk about, which has been far-ranging from baking bread to entrepreneurship to the price of oil and how it gets from the ground to your car. We did that a few weeks back. We've talked to people who own businesses, the restaurants, and we've talked to academics. And today we're going to have a very special time because we're going to have one of my favorite people in the whole world. She's also one of my proteges. And we are going to talk about what it's like to work with Ron, what it's like to start your own business, and all those kind of things. So make sure you stick around, and you're going to meet my friend and protege, Katie Howe-Treviño. Hi, Katie. How are you?
Hi, Ron. I'm well. How are you?
So I'll ask you the question I always ask people the first time to start the show. What do you do, and how did you come to do it?
I own the domain Abilene, which is Abilene's co-working space. And I came to do it because Abilene needed places for professional people to come and actually have an office environment to work in instead of having to pay the high price leases and contracts, furnishing. We do that all for you, and you just come to work. And so a lot of the times that's really just what people want to do. It's that you want to work, you don't want to deal with the business aspect of it. You just needed a place to go, and I have the place to go.
You do indeed, and I'm actually a member of the domain and have been for over a year.
Over a year.
Wow. Man, it's been a long time, Katie. It's
Yes,
been a long
I
time.
know. We just had our year anniversary.
Your anniversary. So Katie likes to help me name things, and she does that by putting Ron in front of other words. Yeah, Ronvention is still my favorite. So instead of a
Yes,
convention, a Ronvention,
yes.
we may have to do
One of
that
my
sometime in the
favorites as
future.
well.
Yeah, maybe we'll have it at the domain
We should.
when there's conventions again.
Yes, when there's Ronventions.
Yes. So Katie, that's you. So you, how did you come to open the domain? Like you talked about the need for what people have, but why you? Why Abilene? Why a co-working space?
Well, Abilene really, I mean, we talked about the need. Abilene really needed it. We were losing a lot of really intelligent college students that were coming out of college, people my age, who are really young but out of college. They want to start businesses. People want to be entrepreneurs nowadays. I mean, it's just the generation of risk taking, apparently. And so we now have, uh, let's see, 3 universities. People, uh, the TSTC is here, and if you want to build a business, it's necessary to have a place to do it at. So giving them a place to do it was really the entire thought process behind it.
But why Abilene?
Oh, because I
For
want people
you?
to stay in Abilene. So
Okay.
for Abilene, it doesn't hurt to grow, but personally, I want people to stay in Abilene.
So
So
you're a native Abilenian, right?
I am.
And you went off to the big city, in
Oh,
this
I
case, San
did.
Antonio,
Yep.
and you came back as people are wont to do.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and people always say that Abilene is they they say it's a black hole. You can't get out of it. But that's just because everybody's family is here. Everybody's family's here. Everybody's friends are here. We are a small town. We have that small town feel, and it's not extremely expensive. So a lot of people do come back,
Yeah.
and it's. I don't want them to come back and flip burgers unless they really want to. Unless they want to. Um, if they want to be creatives, if they want to build an awesome tech app, come do it in Abilene of all
Yeah.
places.
Yeah. And Abilene does have it has sort of a brain drain problem in the sense that you mentioned it that there are 3 4-year universities There's two community colleges. So there's Cisco and TSTC, both which are community colleges. And a lot of people, and there's also an Air Force base, which I actually
Yes.
think is relevant too. That there are a lot of people who get educated in Abilene, and then they have to, they feel like they have to leave to further their career
Correct.
or to start a business. But so many businesses and so much work now is remote as well. So, in addition to people who are starting a business and using your co working space, you have a number of people who are remote workers for some company, right?
Yes, absolutely. And we love them just as much. So we have a lot of remote workers as well. Yes.
Yeah. And can you explain what a co working space is?
Co-working space is um, I think the biggest selection that I took from the co-working space model is just not having long-term leases. So it's
Mm
short term. You can actually just have a day pass and work for a day at the domain or any other co-working space. Really, you can go and work for the day and have a quiet place to work, private place
hmm.
to
Right.
work, or somewhere to have a meeting at. And so I think that's the biggest takeaway I took from the model itself is not having any long-term leases.
Mm hmm.
But it
Yeah.
really just means a collective group of people working.
Yeah, and it's a flexible space, especially I mean specifically the domain. I've visited a couple of other co-working spaces in bigger cities, and the domain goes on that same model in that it has well actually the co-working spaces I went to had leases, like they had a long-term contract. You don't have a lease at all, right? People are members of the domain. And that membership is month to month. Now, some people have private offices, so they have offices that are
Yes.
dedicated just to them.
Right.
And then you have people who are in shared offices, right?
Yes.
Can you explain just explain the membership levels to people? How about that?
So we have at the simplest, easiest to obtain membership level is probably the day pass. So you're still a member if you come in for a day pass. You can sit in our little cafe. You can come and sit in cozy chairs, use our internet and have some coffee, and really get like all of the member amenities. Use, the microwave, fridge, and you could also get a week pass and do the
Hmm.
same. So you have all of the amenities for a week. And then you could have a month to month, what we call a general member or a hot desk membership, where you can come in, which is actually your membership level, and you get to come in
Yes.
anytime you want, sit anywhere you want, and use the meeting room and the entertain your clientele with your awesome office space.
Yeah, and
And
that's why I
then,
did it.
mhm.
Right. I became a general member because I wanted to be able to meet with my proteges one on one, and I needed a place to do that wasn't my house.
And I think what was cool is that you found that the collaboration feature of the domain just kind of happened naturally.
Hmm.
Once you're here, you become kind of family. So, which is really neat because it's not something that's listed in our amenities. Because I feel like I'm going to curse it, but if you're a member here, you really just get to collaborate with everybody, and so
Right.
you won't have to work alone, really.
Right. Right. And I interrupted you. You were on general members. So what's above? What's above? Are they above?
So general members, and then we have a dedicated desk membership. So you mentioned private office, but this is actually just a desk space. So you share an environment with other people. So there's other people currently working around me right now. And if we have to make a phone call, then we tend to just get up and walk somewhere else. But all of my work sits here at my desk, and all of her work sits there at her desk, and we're able to work next to each other and pay a much cheaper price than getting a full office
Right.
somewhere in the enterprise building or vice.
And
I
then
always
above.
mention that one because it's so nice.
It is nice. It is very nice. I used to be I was in the Enterprise Tower for 2 years, 2.5 years. It's nice. Nicest place
It's
in
nice.
Abilene.
So nice.
Tallest building, so that
Yes,
kind of
yes, it
goes with
is.
it too. So yeah, 12 stories. I think it's 12. I think it's 12. That seems right.
I don't know.
I should have Veronica on. Actually, that'd be good. I know her. It would be fun.
I do too.
Yeah, I'll have to put
Uh,
that. I'll put her on my list. I hadn't thought about her.
yes.
All right, go ahead. And you also have after
Private office
desks,
furniture.
right?
So we have um, private offices. You have the key to your private office. I obviously have your key because I am the fire putter outer. And if something terrible happens, I need a key to your office. But you're the only one with a key to your office. You can decorate it how you would like, and it is still month to month
Mm-hmm. And furnished.
and furnished.
Yeah, yeah. And another thing about it is it's 24-hour access, so I can go up to the domain at 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm trying to think if I've ever done that. I think I have because one of the features that I got to use was the printer when my printer broke, right? So to be able to go there and print, I think I've done that in the middle of the night. I don't know if it's 2 o'clock in the morning, but
Yes,
late.
you're famous for bringing your own nice paper too.
Yes, that is true. I do like my paper better than your paper.
Yes,
Um,
it's good. My
but
paper is recycled paper. Yours is just pretty.
Yeah, mine's heavier. I don't know. I think mine's green of some sort, but whatever.
Oh,
It's thick. That's the deal. I like a thicker paper. And so that's the domain, and those are the different levels of domainness.
yeah.
How big? See now also, and you guys can leave a comment in the below here. I want and do call people who are members of the domain dominions. That's my name for them, and I'm trying to make that stick. So you can
I
be a
don't know how to
dominion.
spell it, which is my problem.
A dominion. Don't ask me how to spell anything. Everybody knows
Yeah,
that.
because when you spell it out either way, it doesn't look like it sounds.
macOS contains a built-in screen reader called
Right,
VoiceOver.
right.
If you know how to
Now my other computer is talking to me.
I
So
heard that.
Katie, tell me the biggest thing you have learned. Tell our people the biggest thing you've learned growing this business.
Ooh. So biggest thing that I've learned is that you can't control everything. And luckily, I'm not type A. I don't have to have control of everything. But it still drove me nuts to have, for example, an air conditioner issue that is kind of out of your control. You don't have the ability to fix it yourself, and you don't have the ability to force your landlord to do it. So you have to be the squeaky wheel and just do your best. And that's just every morning wake up and say, I'm going to do my best at getting that air conditioner fixed today. But sometimes it just doesn't happen.
Right, right.
So you
What's
have
the
to learn to
best?
adapt.
You do. You do have to learn to adapt. What is the best thing about running your own business?
Ooh, creative freedom. That is
Interesting.
my one thing that I felt was always taken away when you work for somebody else. You're working for somebody else's creativity and creative freedom as opposed to your own. So some people like to solve puzzles by doing the outside first or the edges first. Some people don't. Some people start with the feature. And neither way is wrong. You still end up getting the puzzle done. But my creative freedom is how I like to complete the puzzle.
All right. So here's a question. Now, I know how I tell the story, but now you can tell my audience how you ended up working with me.
This is one of the best stories ever. This is a quote that has to go on our Roniversary shirts. I met Ron through the first time I met Ron, I was doing a speech for Mike at Mike's venture call business lunch.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if he brands it business or venture call still, but the Monday lunches with Mike.
Yeah.
And I went to just talk about the domain, and Ron was there. And I looked at Ron 422 times due to the fact that I thought he was Woody Harrelson. that was actually attending my presentation of the domain. And I found out that he wasn't. But he was so nice and was able to, and he contacted me later and asked if he could come by and take a look at the domain. And when he came by, I don't know if I mentioned it at the talk or if I mentioned it to him in person, that face-to-face guerrilla marketing is something that terrifies me to my core. I just don't, I don't know how to do it without shaking like a chihuahua in fear. And so his first question to me was, why are you doing that to yourself?
That's true. It was.
I said, is that necessary? And
Yeah.
never thought of it like that, because everybody always told me that's the best way to do it, and that's the way you got to do it, and that's just what you have to do if you're going to own a business. And I did not think of it and like that. And Ron said, well, you know what, let's work together and we'll find different ways for you to do things if you're not going to be able to go out there and just hand things out.
Yeah. That was that.
I feel like, yeah. And then I felt like, of course, I had to absolutely tell everybody that they needed a Ron in their life, because you don't know you need one until you like you don't know until you know. You don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And so a lot of people that would say, oh, I don't really need that. You don't know until you don't know, until all of a sudden your mind is blown because you didn't think of something so simple.
Well, it's easy to get tunnel vision in your own stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always good to have someone from the outside look at it. I would say was another step in that story that I tell.
Oh, yeah.
I did meet you at Mike's thing, and I met you there with Topher, who's been on the show.
That's when I told you that I was.
And then, no, you told me in the mastermind group that we're in with Topher.
Right.
We were at so we had a mastermind group. So Topher had a mastermind group that was held at the domain, and he invited me to come to it. Actually, yeah, we had our first mastermind meeting there. He talks about that. Go watch the live stream on Masterminds with him and David, and he'll talk about what the first one was like. And then so then I talked to Topher, and we did it a different way after that. And you were in there, and you were telling a story about trying to go network at Starbucks, and I was just like, ugh. But that was about the time I decided in that same group that I should do mentoring. So I said, hey, can I come talk to you about the whole networking thing? And
Yeah.
you said, sure. So I came over, and you said, this is what I'm doing. I'm like, stop doing that.
Yeah.
Just stop.
Specifically, stop doing that to yourself.
Yeah, because it was painful. And people do that a lot. Like they get really focused on this thing they should be doing. Mm-hmm. And this thing to do in those cases, and I think what we did was I said, let's step back. What are you trying to accomplish? Why are you doing that? Why are you going there? It's like, well, I want to get new members. Okay, well, how did you get the members you have? That's always a thing to look at too. It's like, how do you get the ones you have? And what other things could you do that would also put people into your sales pipeline? And we talked about what your sales pipeline was too. So it's always something to build that process. And but yeah, that's pretty close to how I would tell the story of us meeting and starting. And you were the first. You were my first protege.
I was
starting with that meeting. Yeah,
I was.
And then and actually my second protege, Topher, became one because he sat in on one of our sessions because we were having it in the cafe at the domain.
Right. Yeah.
And he came in, he was sitting there talking to you for some reason, and he said, we always said it was time for her to do our thing, and he said, do I need to leave? And you said, no, you can stay. And so he stayed, and he was there the whole time, and he and I walked out after that, and he goes, so you're doing one-on-one stuff now? And I'm like, yeah. What does it cost? So that's how Topher ended up being my protege too, and he's been one for over a year now. I think I missed his anniversary because we meet, but now we meet online, and I don't know, it's a little different.
No,
Everything's different when you meet
it
online.
is.
Yeah.
It is.
Um, so what do you do now? So let's talk about what the outcome there was. So you don't go to Starbucks and stare at people,
Nope.
which would probably at best get you the wrong kind of attention.
Yeah.
And
Or arrested.
yeah. And what do you do now? Or what have you done? I guess it would see. I keep doing these things, and I'm thinking about like 6 months ago, and then I ask someone a question about something I know about 6 months ago, and they're like, that doesn't. None of that applies now.
Yeah.
But what are some of the things that you have done to get at new members that are different than what you were doing before?
Well, we went from needing new members to needing more space.
Yeah.
So I can
To
tell
having
you
a
that.
waiting list. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we are really, it's powerful word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we Facebook market for free. I try not to spend any money in Facebook. That is actually a tip that was given to me by one of my members. Don't boost your post on Facebook.
Yeah.
And then I have also just ended up in different communities based on the members of the domain. And this is former and current members. So we now have really great little communities. And I get to kind of be, a member of all of the little communities. And it's just inside of those communities, it's also word of mouth. So I get to meet new people, and then new people want to join the domain, and or just word of mouth from I don't know where. And then, I mean,
Yeah.
but we also have, of course, I pay extensively for internet search engine optimization.
Right. We've talked about that.
It works a little.
So yeah, and I would expect that search engine would be a good source of traffic for you, right? If someone is coming to town and they need a workspace, they need a co-working space or they need a meeting space, that's what they're going to Google, and
Right.
they're going to say Abilene meeting spaces, and so you need to be there. And you get a lot of, because you do have a process. Like, I don't know if you consciously had a process before, but the first thing you do is invite people to come visit, right? Like
Always.
that's it. And then you get people visiting, you give them the tour, show them the stuff, all the places, all the amenities, probably introduce them to whoever's there.
Mhm.
And then some percentage of those people decide, yes, I do want to be here, and then they sign up. So you kind of have that process. And that works well. And the waiting list is for the offices,
Yes.
because you have a limited number of those.
Right.
And then you don't have a waiting list for hot desks. Well, you would if you ran out of hot desk space.
Right.
we-
But I have one hot desk available.
I think you have had all the hot desks. See, because that's another thing
Oh, yeah.
that about the space and about the business is it's fluid in the sense that I know you've gone from offices that had multiple desks, so therefore were hot desk offices,
Right.
to taking all but one of those desks out and making it a private office, right?
Right.
Because people wanted that, and so you have that flexibility. And then when people are like, "Oh, I don't want to do private offices, but I need a place, and so you'll reconfigure this space."
Yes.
You also have conference rooms, right? Like, so you have you had a conference room when we started,
Yeah.
and then you turned it into a private office.
Right.
Yeah. And then
Well,
now it's a group office.
yes. And the conference room got upgraded into a really big conference room after they fixed the air conditioner.
Right. So talk about that. That was an interesting situation because, all right, so at the domain, we don't have a floor plan. Is there a floor plan on your website? Just FYI. That would be interesting.
You know what? I don't believe there is.
I don't think there is. And that could be useful, just kind of show people where the offices are. But so you had this big space originally it was hot desks. It was just like a big open space
Of
um,
literal hot
of
desks.
literal desks, and then the air conditioner
Hot.
went out, and they suddenly became hot. And that was tough because that was months, right? I want to say it was two,
Almost
3
a
months,
No, it was
almost a year with no AC in that room.
right.
Holy cow! I didn't remember it was that long. I knew it had begun, I think, before we started.
Because I remember at 9 months, I said, "This is absolutely ridiculous."
Yeah, yeah. And you lost members. I mean, you had people who
Yep.
had hot desks, and they were like, I can't do this.
I did. I
Uh,
did. I
uh,
lost a lot. I lost members in those desks, and I also lost a member in an office
mm,
because of that. Obviously, it was all connected.
right, right. Because like
Yeah.
half the space had air conditioning, and half the space didn't.
Right.
And so you pulled all those desks out and started
Yeah.
reconfiguring the other
The whole
rooms.
space. Yep.
Yeah, so that you could keep the number of hot desks you had, and then when they fixed the AC especially in that room, instead of turning it back into hot desks, you turned it into an event space,
Right.
where people could have business events there.
Right.
And it's a very large room, it's a huge room.
Very
And
big.
you've had lots of groups there. That's if people watch the January God, I can't even believe that was that long ago or that near ago. We had the
Oh,
goal setting
my.
workshop in that room. So you can
did.
kind of see it
Yeah.
on that live stream, which actually isn't online anymore. So you don't get to see it after all. And so you've adapted, and
Yes.
it's not an adaptation that happens once and is done, right? You're continuing to adapt. Like now in this situation, you're adapting,
Right.
right? So what are you doing? What has been the effect of COVID-19 on the domain?
We've had a lot more remote workers.
Mm,
And I think that's really good. And I know that there will be more and less and more and less, and it might come in waves, just because people are gonna not enjoy remote working as much as they thought they would, or vice versa, and they're gonna be wanting to go back to work. But I think a lot of people are realizing that they do save money, not to have a contracted office space with a lease.
yeah,
I think they're saving money by moving people to home. Well, if you're like me, you can't work from home. You've got a kid and you've got laundry and you have, all the responsibilities at your home staring at you and saying, "Why are you sitting on the couch?" You know,
right.
it's hard not to just lay down and take a nap.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
there
can't
sort
work
of
from
needs to be a
home.
middle space, right? That's kind of what a co-working space is. Like you can work remotely from home,
Yeah.
or you can work in an office, but there is a middle space where you don't have to be geographically near your work, but you
Yeah.
don't want to be in your house.
It's just the escape. It's a short little escape. You don't have to be here all day. I don't make you clock in. Come for your one conference call and have a cup of coffee and leave. I mean,
Yeah,
there's snacks and coffee and good conversation always, and clean restroom.
yeah, yeah. That's definitely true, and it's not your house, so if you have clients, you can have them meet you there.
Yeah.
And another thing is you can use the domain's address for a
You
physical
can.
address.
Thank you for reminding me. Yes. And we are happy to receive your mail. I have a really cute new incoming mail.
Oh, you're at you're at the front desk. I was trying to remember where the D was, and I knew there's one in the event center, but I forgot the front room. Yeah, awesome.
Isn't that fun?
It is, and you have put your creative stamp on the decor of the domain.
Yeah. So
it is bright and colorful, and that's awesome.
it is.
Um,
It's supposed to be mid-century modern with bright colors. So emphasis on the modern.
Yeah.
with our shakes and stuff.
Yeah. You actually, I was gonna say, to point out another way that having that address is useful is I use it for my domains. So when you register a
Yes.
domain, you have to put a physical address in there. The same is true for email. If you are doing, you have an email service provider to send out large amounts of email, the ICANN says you have to put your physical address on the bottom of the emails.
Right.
And in both cases, the address that's on there is the domain. It's not my house because you don't
Right.
want necessarily.
You
You don't want
get
to
an
put your
actual
address on the internet.
professional business address and
Right.
professional mail handling services, and you know, you don't have to be here for all of that. You
Right.
don't have to sit here and be present.
Right. And you'll call and say, "Hey, you got mail." Do I ever? I don't even think
Oh,
I ever
yeah.
get mail. One of the reasons I did it was because I used to get like all kinds of weird spammy domain email whenever I did that.
Not domain email, but like domain.com email.
Yeah, domain dot. But see, domain.com is a specific company too. That's one of those places where the names overlap. It's weird.
Yeah.
But I used to
Well,
get.
I
Yeah,
don't send you spammy email.
you don't. Domain. So DNS related
Yeah.
email. How about that?
So I will also ship your mail to you during these times. If you don't want to come out of your house and have me hand you a piece of mail, I will ship it to you in a big manila envelope to your home. So these people still don't, the outside world doesn't have your home address, but you know, I'll ship it to
Yeah,
your house.
but you're not a mailing service, which is always something. It's also something that we talk about is, and this is something David Cranfield talked about in the Survival Trap, is that when things get tight, we start wanting to add new services,
Right.
right? And
Cost you money.
yeah, they cost you money, and they're taking they have opportunity costs, and that you could be spending that time doing something else. And it's
Absolutely.
not your forte. And it's not what you want to get to know. You want to be known for.
Right.
So adding those is not necessarily a good thing. So you're not a mailing because there are services
But I
that
am
will
helpful
take your
during-
mail. Yeah.
During the COVID, I am very helpful.
Yes. Yes, you are. You're very helpful.
Right.
All right. Well, we've been going about a little over 30 minutes now, Katie, and don't seem to have any comments or any questions for you. Anything you'd like to tell the audience now or in the future about you, about the domain?
Well, I'm excited to say that the domain is expanding. We are expanding. Remember, we have the people. We just need the space. So now we are
Right.
getting more space to put our people. So if you are interested in the space, please call, email, contact via website, Facebook, messenger pigeon, snail mail, all
Yes.
of the above.
All of the
if
above.
you want to see the space, if you want to see what we have to offer, if you want to talk to these people and see if the cameras turn off and I become a monster, you know, see if the service is really, you know, about building your business or working remotely peacefully.
Right. Yeah. So your domain, see, that's like your URL has been going across the bottom, your domain. Your URL, domainabilene.com, and people can go
Yes.
there and contact you and all that other stuff. Well, thank you for being on the show, Katie.
Thank you, Ron, for letting me be on the show.
All right, everyone. I just want to let you know that Distinctions for Life is a weekly show where I help people get what they really want in life with small changes that make a big difference. And every Sunday at 5, I release what I call a distinctions video, which is one of those small changes. So if you haven't already, you can subscribe by clicking the subscribe button. I do these live streams once a week on Thursdays at 2 p.m. So if you hit the bell button, you will get notified. You actually get notified 30 minutes before, and you get notified at the time of the live stream. And we try to do those on a weekly basis. Thank you so much for being here. And until next time, I'm Ron Davis. Goodbye.